Hi, welcome everyone to this exciting panel discussion today. So we're going to talk about AI. How surprised, right? So we're going to talk about AI confessions. It's going to be very interesting to cover the good, the bad, the ugly, the unexpected. And our panels will be here from different parts of the world today. And we'll be actually hearing their inside scoop of AI successes and stumbles. And we're also going to look at how AI is shaping in this very country, Korea. So we'll cover that as well. So before we jump in, I'd love to get a very quick round of intro with our amazing panelists. And I will say 10 seconds to introduce yourself. And actually, we'll do by example doing it by myself. So I'm Summer Kim. I am AI investor. I am user research person. And then I am also a mom and then struggling in Silicon Valley. And Professor Joe, yeah?
Hi, I'm Kyung-hyun, professor of computer science and data science at New York University, and also a senior director of frontier research at Genentech, which is a company under Roche. So I'm working on both the AI research, but also trying to make sure that the AI research is going to be helpful for us by helping us create new drugs as well.
So hi, I'm Fleur Pellerin. I'm a former member of the French government, serving as a member, as a Minister for Digital and Innovation, and then Minister for Culture and Communication, and now venture capitalist, investing in tech, and recently investing also in Korean startups.
And then we actually have one more panelist who's actually coming here very passionately from Korea, as Seoul. He's got stuck in the traffic. So Fleur is actually going to be an AI version of Charles and covering his intro.
So hello, I am Charles Cantor from France. I'm the founder of one of the most hyped Gen AI companies recently, company H. So all the founders are former members from the teams of Google, DeepMind, and AlphaGo. And we recently raised a seed round of 220 million. And our activity, our business is large action model. So it's text to action. So nice to be here.
Yes, so our Charles. So thank you so much for, again, being part of here. And then we are actually going to start kicking off the good part of the AI. So can you actually share a recent AI experience that left you feel very optimistic? And tell us about your favorite AI moment recently. So we can start with Kyung-hyun. You go first.
Oh yeah, so I've been a professor for now 10 years, and then before that I was a postdoc. And then what that means is that at this stage of my career, I don't really code anymore. Although I'm a computer scientist, I'm very embarrassed to confess about this one, but it's an AI confession. But then about a year ago, I decided that, with ChatGPT, everyone is telling me that coding has become easy. I was like, okay, I gotta try it out. So I got the subscription to ChatGPT. I installed the Microsoft GitHub Copilot, VS Code, and I just started to code something by just asking ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, I want to build an app that's going to crawl my Gmail inbox and then find all those news, let's say, alerts, and then summarize them into some text. And then, of course, it didn't work immediately, but I started to code it up little by little on one of the weekends together with my friend who is a journalist. And then within 4 hours, we had a working demo that actually uses ChatGPT on its own. And then that is running on my laptop, trying to read all those, let's say, news alerts on my Gmail inbox, and then was able to produce a readable and understandable summaries. So what that means is that even the professors can code. And then that actually gives everyone, because the professors are the worst at coding because we talk, we don't do anything. But somehow I was able to do something even as a professor. And then what that means is that everyone now has this superpower that is enabled by this kind of large-scale language models together with the coding and other spatial capabilities. And then that's really going to change how we, in fact, do things, not just talk. So I would say that's a good side.
I think that's very true that we hear a lot from our user research as well, that people feel very empowered and then feel like this is an opportunity to equalize things from AI. And then building on that, how do you see this example potentially shaping the future of AI in this industry?
Yeah, so one thing that I see is that often when I talk to, let's say, VCs, like the investors or many of the general public, they ask me what kind of, let's say, applications I see as the most impactful applications of the AI. And then I have to tell them back, or they ask them back, why does that matter? say you were back in 1980s, early 80s, or the late 70s. You're talking to, let's say, Bill Gates. And then Bill Gates asks you for some money, and then would you actually ask Bill Gates, so what would be the most impactful application of Microsoft's DOS? That would be the dumbest possible question ever. So what I'm really excited by is this democratization. So that everyone has power to use this tool that never existed. And then that is, in fact, doing something that we have never seen before. And then I'm extremely, extremely excited by what is going to enable us the things that I cannot imagine. I think that's the exciting part here.
Flo?
So mine would not really be, I mean, I can't tell about a personal experience later, but I think the thing that really strikes me a lot in terms of what AI could bring is applications in health. So like drug discovery, drug development, I think is going to be made. It's going to be de-risked, it's going to be made much quicker, and so I think there's a lot of developments we can anticipate in like the cancer treatment, in like fighting against orphan diseases, this kind of thing. So that's where I think a lot of hope we can. It's really the bright side for me, and even if it's not a personal experience, we have amazing startups. Like in France, I think I have a company called Oakin, who is now working on this drug development. I think there's a lot of potential in here. And if you ask me a more personal experience, I don't think it will be a big progress for humanity, but I really like this AI, powered karaoke application that I use sometimes, especially during the, the COVID period. I was, bored in my apartment, and I was using this AI-powered karaoke stuff with my friends, and we had a great time. It's not a big progress, but it was fun.
I mean, it's all about having a good time, isn't it? I really admire that. So we'll go to karaoke, On the flip side, back to my serious questions. What is the current challenge in AI that creating friction? Maybe we can start with Flo this time.
Well, challenging, I think, we have a lot of questions regarding the challenges, but definitely I think one of them, and probably the biggest, I'm not sure I should speak about that now because I think now there will be other questions, but I think it's how do we train the people who will be made redundant? Because it's not only about low value added tasks, but you can see that lawyers or medical doctors like cardiologists or a lot of tasks will be probably implemented or executed in a better way and more reliable way by AI than humans. And so we'll need to think about what we will do with all these people whose skills are becoming less useful. So I think that it's not directly an AI challenge, right? But it's a side effect of AI, I think is a very big challenge.
I can follow up on that one as well. So not only the people who are going to lose their jobs or who will have to change their careers, but also what is the right way for us to ensure that everyone, not only a small group of the elites who actually have had a chance, just by random chance to look at all this AI development early on, and then are going to take the reap of the let's say outcome out of it. So how do we actually ensure that everyone who hasn't had an opportunity yet, due to a variety of factors, to see this kind of advances of the AI, to see the advance of AI, and not being left out. And in particular, earlier this morning, today, there was one of the students who actually asked a question to NYU President Linda Mills about the necessity of having an education, K-12 education, moving faster, because for instance, in Korea, K-12 education curriculum changes only every 7 years. And then now, 7 years is a gigantic time in this AI development, because 7 years ago, what happened actually, that was even before pandemic. That was way before ChatGPT. And in fact, 7 years ago, no one actually would have guessed that we would have something like this conversational language model that is able to help us code, help us create a karaoke out of it, and all those things. So how do we actually ensure that we're not going to let our students or the majority of the population wait 7 years while small number of people like myself, so I'm going to benefit, but like myself is going to benefit from this luck that I had. That is that I just saw it 7 years in advance or 14 years in advance. Let's put it like that here.
I'll move on to the next topic, but I love to continue to push and really want to see a lot of success in Korea right here. So now let's shift the gears a little bit and address critical aspects that underlies all of our work is AI ethic. I don't want to talk about it too much because it is a very, very large topic, but I do want to touch on very briefly. And then actually there's a panel on this tomorrow. It's actually called Ethics of AI tomorrow afternoon. So if you guys are interested, you guys can join that one to actually explore more. But I just, briefly, I'd love to hear your perspective on what making positive contribution in terms of ethical, practices and outcome. And then on the flip side, like, what kind of keep you up at night when you think about this?
So I'm clearly not an ethicist. And in fact, we do have ethicists sitting on the table from NYU, and you're going to hear from him
Yeah,
tomorrow.
they're watching
in the
you,
session.
like to answer
Yes.
carefully.
Yes,
Yeah.
Matthew, we're all looking at you. But so only thing that I can actually, I can share one observation I made, especially what happened last year and a year before, in particular in US, when it comes to not necessarily ethics, but the generally ethics-related areas, including the, let's say, safety of the AI systems, and then their social consequences and whatnot, is that there's a huge level of the interest, but that level of the interest comes from, or is created by the AI developers, the companies that are going to benefit from AI, as well as the politicians who need to worry about their elections. And do you see actually who is missing here is the users who are going to use the AI, but that's actually not the most important point. The most important missing segment there is the people who are actually going to be potentially harmed by the massive deployment of these AI systems. So when it comes to, let's say, drug discovery, since Flora talked about it a bit earlier, in the process of the approval by, let's say, FDA or the other agencies across the world, what they do is that they almost always include so-called patient advocates, who are the people who are going to benefit from or may be harmed by this approval of the new drugs or the disapproval of the applications of the new drugs. Mm-hmm. And then in the case of the AI ethics or the AI safety, what you really miss is the discussion or the views that are expressed by the people who are actually not going to benefit from this deployment of or the development of the technologies, but may actually be harmed by this kind of technologies. So in that sense, I try to keep reminding myself, because I'm an AI developer myself, is that yes, we tend to talk a lot. I tend to talk a lot about the AI and how it should be used, what it's going to do. But I think what is more important is for us to think about which segment of the society is actually going to get be harmed by this kind of technology, so that we can avoid it in advance.
Yeah.
So for me, this is a very complex question, because first, ethics also depends on the systems, the principles and systems of values, and it's different in each country.
Totally.
So that's a big issue. So there cannot be like a worldwide regulator to say, this is a good application, this is a wrong application. But I was thinking, there are some things that I think are really very scary. Like, I was reading this article recently about the IP, the IP filing of a big American company that is developing some glasses. Anyway, so the IPs that were filed were analyzed by a journalist, and the journalist found out that they had some IP, some patents about, reading the activity of your eyes can give some indications on your moral, state. So, for example, if you're depressed. And then they can use this to push some contents to you. So, like, to buy some, some drugs or some stuff, because you're in a sort of distress, right? So how good is that? I mean, that's super scary. That means that, they can penetrate your brain, your feelings, and then push certain contents to monetize it. I don't want that, but definitely it's close to targeted marketing. So it's just a continuation of targeted marketing. But so who is going to say, this you cannot do? Because you cannot exploit the pain of an individual to market some, to make some money.
That's a scary example.
Who can say that?
Yeah.
It's not the judge, it's not, so there's no regulation for that. So it's very complicated. So that's just one example. But there are many others, You were saying ethics can also be about the bias. The interesting thing is that there's a conscious that there can be some bias in algorithms. For example, when, people were working on the algorithms for autonomous driving, at some point, someone realized that the machine learning, the algorithm had been trained with models with only like white people. So whenever there was a black person, coming into the radar, it would not be recognized by the algorithm. And then these kind of issues, I think they've been, dealt with because it's the easiest one. But there are many others that are not very easy to solve. I'm sitting on the ethics committee of a bank. And right now, they want to automatize the mechanisms to allocate some loans. And so if this is automatized, how do you make sure that there will not be a bias that is negative for people who live in certain areas, or who are the name is from a certain origin, these kind of things. So maybe the transparency of the algorithm will be necessary, but then transparency of the algorithm is a big IP problem for the young startups who are developing innovative models. So there will always be a bit of this misalignment between what we consider ethics priorities and also business priorities. So this is two examples, but I think there's a wide range of problems, ethics-related problems that will come with the new developments.
It's so interesting because this topic is so complex and so humongous. And then I think it's a little bit of preview of what people will be doing, discussing more, dedicated tomorrow. And then I love the fact that we touched on many different, group, including users. And the users, not the users, 10 years ago. They're very articulate. They want to know more. The transparency and then unbiasedness, these all things are coming in place. So I think it's going to be a very, very critical thing that it's going to be continue to explore and actually for us to do something about. So I know that was a little heavy and a lot, and then let's actually talk about some other things where we talked a lot about the good, the bad, and unexpected, and I do want to also touch on a little bit deeper on AI nature, dual nature. And the question that I want to ask you is that I'd love to actually, Professor Joe, from your being a startup founder as well as teaching a scientist in AI space, can you share a story where your work, where AI delivered both promising results and unexpected challenges?
Yes, I can talk about both actually. That's great. So the startup, yes, I founded a startup called Prescient Design in early 2021 based off of the technologies that we developed at NYU. And then that was on how to use this kind of deep learning or the AI technologies for modeling proteins as well as producing or designing proteins. And then that company has been acquired by Genentech, and that's the reason why I'm spending some time at Genentech in order to ensure that we can advance these technologies in order to help us design a novel proteins or the antibodies that are able to help us eventually to treat some of the diseases that we don't know how to treat yet. So in that regard, during the past 3 years, we have made a tremendous progresses. So I have given a couple of the talks about it at major machine learning conferences this year, reporting on how much AI can really help us find antibodies or the protein designs that we could have never thought of. In fact, some of the algorithms that we come up with are able to find the designs that human experts could not believe that they were going to work. But once we actually synthesized and then tested experimentally, they actually worked better than most of the designs that were selected manually by the human experts. So in that sense, what is really exciting, and then what has been already exciting about AI is that these technologies are allowing us to solve the problems that we wanted to solve, but we never knew how to solve. So AI is not about increasing the productivity on the things that we know how to do already. I think AI is really exciting because it allows us to solve the problems that we cannot even fathom coming up with a solution for too. Now, unexpected challenge is that it turned out Gen AI, so-called generative AI technologies, was the least important one in developing this entire pipeline. So we do build a narrow, very tunnel vision by looking at, let's say, how amazing ChatGPT is, how amazing Claude is, how amazing the HyperClova from, let's say, Naver is. However, machine learning or AI is so much broader. There are so many problems that require techniques or the paradigms that go just beyond this kind of so-called language modeling or the generative modeling. And in fact, it turned out that there are many things that we just don't know how to do well. And then we had to ensure that the gap between what algorithm developers have come up with or assuming and the real world, we had to narrow down that gap for the past 3 years. And then even now, that gap still exists, and then that is actually preventing us from going even further than we wanted.
Actually, can you pick a one key lesson that you learned from this experience? It might be useful for the audience.
One key lesson, okay, so computer scientists, or if you're going to be an AI scientist, there's no such thing as, in my view, theory of computer science or theory of artificial intelligence. Now, a lot of people will, say no, but that's how I strongly believe. because the whole idea of the computer science or AI, which is a broader concept than computer science, is all about problem solving. We are problem solvers. It's a discipline where we train problem solvers to solve these problems. And then what I have learned is that these latest technologies as well as the future technologies we are going to build under the umbrella of the artificial intelligence really expand our horizon as the problem solvers. And then we can solve so many things that we never imagined. So it's really important, I have learned that it's really important to not get bogged down by the current problems that everyone else tells us that we need to solve, because that's the limitation that is imposed by what we know how to solve. But it turned out we can actually solve problems that we don't know how to solve.
I mean, this was more from like a maker, scientist perspective, and for you, Flo, from an investor perspective, what do you see, or any story that you can share that AI delivered both promising result or unexpected challenges?
So for me as an investor, I don't use, directly,
exactly.
right? So I use ChatGPT as a personal assistant, so it's very convenient, but it's not like revolutionary. I mean, it is revolutionary because when you compare the new version of ChatGPT to the one, that you had like 18 months ago or 12 months ago, it is revolutionary, but it cannot be compared with your experience, right? But in terms of investment, what is challenging, I think, is that all these, Gen AI that we're talking about, developing foundation, large language model, but also inference model, it costs a lot of money because you need a lot of computation power. And for computation power, you need what? A lot of NVIDIA GPUs, right? So this is why it's so capital intensive. And because, people can see the perspectives and the opportunities, even though they are not, obvious business cases right now, so not obvious revenue streams coming. There's been a hype, and so a lot of people wanted to invest large amounts of money in startups that are not really monetizing right now, but are very promising because the talent is inside, and because the teams are really top-notch teams. But so from an investor point of view, it's very complicated to invest in a capital-intensive company where you don't have a clear view of when and how big the revenue streams in the future will be, because it's not my own money, right? It's money I need to give back to my investors.
Yeah.
And if my horizon of exit is not very clear, then I take it's not just a risk, it's really very dangerous. So that's the dilemma for investors that are not long-term or evergreen kind of investors, is really how do you bet on the right the right horses and the right the future champions, while you're taking this huge risk of putting your money in something that can just be a hole for the capital. So I think that would be right now the major risk, how to evaluate and how to assess who's the future winner, right?
And then that, I think it's continuously changing, right? And then even like you think that it's a winner right now may not be true, even next week. And then like you're saying, like first mover advantage, there's no such thing as fast follow that we hear in AI, right? So I think that's really also interesting point on that, and really trying to figure out how to actually make those right decisions, to be honest. And then now I actually want to go into another section. And we talked a lot about AI, current landscape, like dual nature to ethical consideration and so on. And then now I want to take a look at an exciting possibility on the horizon. So I'm going to ask you to be very creative, and then think about you're going to be, say, AI startup founder, right? So if you were to launch an AI startup today, what problem would you aim to solve? And what excites you most about the possibility in this area? I know I'm putting them on the spot, so you can give a couple thoughts, but knowing that, right, what problem you want to solve if you're launching an AI startup today?
So I think I would try to do something related to energy transition, or like sort of methane emissions or that kind of things. It already exists, but definitely I think there's a massive underinvestment in the energy transition and in the fight against climate change. So I think if I had a lot of energy and a great brain, I would dedicate myself to this fight.
Well, if I had such an idea,
and unlimited resources. You have all the best investors.
Then I should just go out there and make it now. Yes, I think that's the right answer. But in fact, unlimited resources as well. Then in fact, I'm going to literally do exactly what OpenAI has done, but within 12 months, with a better hardware, better software, better know-how, and then essentially to be the NVIDIA of OpenAI when the OpenAI becomes Intel. I think that's what we should do.
Then what problem are you trying to solve?
And thereby, I'm going to solve all the problems that OpenAI
all the
claims to
problems.
solve.
Okay.
And in a much better and much more efficient and effective way.
Interesting. We have a lot to talk about after this. Okay, cool. All right, so now I want to actually, now that, we talked about, even like your kind of favorite problem to solve, AI, and then I do want to actually kind of look ahead a little bit even more, and then what my AI brings us in the coming years. So think about AI in the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, the world of AI, 5 years even so long, but I'm talking about 5 to 10 years. And what gets you excited the most, thinking about AI in the next 5 to 10 years? And then one thing that is actually going to be worrying you so much that you cannot even sleep at night? Let's do that.
I have one. Well, not the latter one, the former, the answer to the former question. So in drug discovery, as well as the general healthcare, what is really challenging is that it's extremely segmented and staged. That is that for instance, if I think about a new drug, in order for that new drug to come to the market and given to the patients, we have to go through about 40 years that consists of about 20 to 40 different stages. And each and every stage, our success rate is in fact around, let's say, 1 to 10%. And if you compound them, obviously that's the reason why the success rate is so low. Now, why is that the case? It's because we don't have any way at the moment to predict the success, clinical success of any compound or the molecules that we find in the early stage. We don't even know whether a particular, let's say, target, biological targets that we want to design a drug for is a valid target for a particular set of conditions or the diseases that we want to design the drugs for. And then that's the reason why we have all those proxy variables or the targets that do not correlate at all with the actual clinical outcome. What I really hope, and then what I think is going to happen within the next 5 to 10 years, is that we're going to have one big AI model that is able to look at every single stages, this 20 to 40 stages, and all the information coming out of it, and then be able to make a prediction on the actual clinical outcome, and then use that predicted signal, and then back propagate it through this AI system so that we can adjust everything from the atomic positions of the individual atoms in the molecules to our choice of the targets to how we actually change the manufacturing process to maximize the clinical outcome. And that's going to literally revolutionize what we think of as a drug discovery. So that's what I think is going to happen, and I'm very, very hopeful about it.
Probably the same thing, the same evolution, actually it's productivity gain, right? So it's gaining in terms of efficiency and productivity. And I think it will be the case in many other segments. I mean, probably the most promising and the most important is what you can do in health and biotech, etc. But it will be true in other segments, I guess. It's very difficult to anticipate because, again, I was struck. Remember when I first used the first version of ChatGPT, it was, full of mistakes and hallucinations and stuff. And then the progress that was made in just 6 months' time in the successive versions, it was just so striking, I think. So I think it's, we cannot really exactly know what will happen even next year or next year. So probably it will be full of surprises. But what I think will make me worry is that, access to knowledge and information will be made much easier. As you were saying, you can now say, okay, please sum up this book or this news article, etc., and you get a summary of, it's very easy to get to the substance of information. But then what will happen if you totally lose this drive, this curiosity, the necessity to learn something and to make some efforts to learn? And I fear that the next generations, already when you see the way they access to culture or to knowledge, which be a bit more lazy. And this is, I think, very scary because the lack of curiosity can be a disaster, I think, for humankind. The fact that you don't even need to learn foreign languages because it's so easy, to use your phone and translate in real time, so you don't need to. But learning other languages is putting you in the shoes of other people. It's very important, I think, when you construct yourself as an individual, to put yourself in the shoes of other people. And so if AI, prevents us from doing that, I think that's, a big disaster. So my fear will be really on that side. So making people lazy and less curious and less able with less capacity for empathy.
Yeah.
Can I just add one quick thing?
Yeah.
On that? I totally agree with you. And then whenever I bring this up to some of my Silicon Valley AI, researcher friends, their response often that, it's all about technology. We're going to make the creative AI that's going to help us be more creative and explore. And then, of course, that may be the case. But what I'm worried about, just along your worry, is that it's imposed creativity, imposed knowledge, imposed, let's say, intelligence, and then I'm very worried that what we are being, let's say, fed with is essentially what Sam Altman believes. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing if everyone in the world is going to be fed with the types of the creativity or the knowledge that was what they call aligned with some of a very small number of the people who have the money and powers believing. And that actually keeps me wide awake at night, yes.
As somebody actually based in Silicon Valley, and then also experience a lot of different things from the user perspective, I think this is something that is going to be a very, very tricky topic, to be honest, because it all depends also person, individuals. So I think this could be a topic by itself. So I think we should punt on that a little bit, but I wanted people to think about this because it is true, like all the things that you guys mentioned, and then the reverse side is also can be true. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a cool one to do. And then we only got 7 minutes left. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna do a round of lightning round one more time. So I'm gonna ask rapid fire questions, and then if you can give me 1 word, 2 words answer. So the first question is, what's the one AI tool that you cannot live without?
Netflix recommendation.
All right, that's important. Okay.
For me, it's ChatGPT.
All right. Okay, and then, unfortunately, Charles, I was hoping that he'll be here, but let's answer for Charles. I don't know.
I would say his own company.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Maybe I can explain a bit more.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that I couldn't make it because of traffic. I think AI could solve some traffic congestion issues, by the way. I'm very surprised that in Korea, out of all places, it's not used. I think it's a good suggestion to make to I think the transportation minister was here yesterday. I should have told him. Anyway, so his company is quite interesting because there's a use case. So I'm not going to explain it as well as him, but so he's transforming, instructions into action. So, for example, please edit all the pay slips of, your company for this month, and then it will make it in an automatized way that will make much less mistakes than a human, clerk person. So this is the kind of things, automation is also, I think.
There's a lot of AI agent companies out there. We see a lot. By the way, Charles should buy you a dinner. You're doing this to people.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
Yeah, this is crazy. How it's been going on like this. But yes, he said he's gonna be here by 3:30. But anyway, I was kind of killing it. But anyway, that's cool. And then the next question is, what is the hottest AI company right now? The question here, right now, is important because you can change mine next week or tomorrow, right? Right now, what is the hottest AI company from your opinion?
I guess the company that I'm going to make based on your earlier question. Yes.
Oh, okay. So his own company.
So I would say one of my portfolio companies, it's a Rebellions in Korea. They're not really AI, but they're AI chips manufacturer. So fighting.
Got it. Fighting. All right. The next question is, what's the most important AI innovation of the past year? Ooh.
There's none.
Oh, there's none. Okay. And then the last question is in one word. The key is one word. What is the biggest opportunity for AI in the next 2 years?
Causality.
Freedom.
All right. So we are actually on time, but because of evolution and development of AI, it actually gives the opportunities for so many different people. So AI can, we talked about, can definitely have a chance to equalize things, right? So I think that's something that is very optimistic. That's why the countries like Korea has a very big shot if we actually put the right people, right energy, right things into the right direction. But then when I say right, I think it's also very questionable too. So I think there's a lot to discuss, but we have another day. So there's more AI topics. So I encourage people to, continue and in learning and be curious about this world of AI. that is, we believe that is the most important technology we're facing right now. So yeah, so that's a wrap. And then thank you very much for your attention and your, your questions and all the love that you gave us. So thank you.